Hi everybody and welcome to another English class with Richard. This is class 4 of my advanced level C1 English course, and today we're going to be looking at discourse markers, or sometimes called linkers. Okay, let's begin the class. Discourse markers or linkers, sometimes they're called linkers, are words or expressions that link, manage and help to organize sentences. Today we'll be looking at some discourse markers which show result, reason, purpose and contrast. Okay, let's begin with result. And so is the most common way of introducing a result clause. Example: it was hot, so I took off my jacket. In this sentence we have two clauses. The first one is it was hot, and the second one is the result clause, so I took off my jacket. Notice that there is a comma before so, and here we have two clauses in the same sentence. So is the most common way in spoken English, in informal spoken English, of introducing a result clause. Let's have a look at some more formal ways of introducing a result clause that maybe we would be more likely to use in written English. We have as a result, consequently and therefore. These words are more formal than so and usually come at the beginning of a sentence. And the example, it rained all night, full stop, new sentence, as a result the whole city was flooded the next day. It rained all night, as a result the whole city was flooded the next day. I regret to inform you that you have failed your C1 English exam. Therefore, we are unable to offer you the job. I regret to inform you that you have failed your C1 English exam. Consequently, we are unable to offer you the job. So very formal English. If I wanted to say the same thing in informal English, I would say something like, sorry to tell you that you failed the exam, so we can't give you the job. Means the same thing, less formal. So let's continue with some more rules and some more examples. If we use as a result, consequently or therefore at the beginning of a clause, we usually add a comma plus and before. For example, it rained all night, comma, and as a result the whole city was flooded the next day. So in this example, in this example, I have joined the two sentences together to form one sentence, but I need to add the word and before the as a result. I could do the same thing with therefore and consequently. It rained all night and consequently the whole city was flooded the next day, or it rained all night and therefore the whole city was flooded the next day. Another rule that I have here is therefore and consequently can also be used before a main verb. Let's have a look at an example. We have therefore decided not to offer you the job. Or we have therefore consequently decided not to offer you the job. Here, therefore and consequently are before the main verb decided. Okay, very good. Let's continue with discourse markers of reason. And the most commonly used discourse marker of reason is because. Because is usually used to introduce a clause giving a reason. Here's an example. I took my umbrella because it was raining. I took my umbrella because it was raining. Because is the most common way of introducing a clause of reason in spoken English. We can also use as or since, which are synonymous but more formal. So, for example, I don't write to her anymore because she never replies. Or I don't write to her anymore as she never replies, or I don't write to her anymore since she never replies. The three sentences mean the same thing because it's normal, informal spoken English. As and since are more formal. As is also more commonly used at the beginning of a sentence. So for example, as she never replies, I've stopped writing to her. Means the same thing as the previous example, but I had to reorder the sentences. We also have because followed by the preposition of, which can be used to express the reason for something and is usually followed by a noun. For example, the flight was delayed because of the snow. Here, because of is followed by a noun, the snow. If I wanted to follow it by a clause, I would say the flight was delayed because it was snowing without the preposition of. But here, because I want to follow it with a noun, I say the flight was delayed because of the snow. We also have due to and owing to, which work in the same way as because of. They are followed by a noun, but they are more formal. So the referee stopped the football match because of the rain, or the referee stopped the football match due to the rain, or the referee stopped the football match owing to the rain. Because of the rain, informal. Due to the rain, owing to the rain, more formal. Very good. Let's continue with linkers or discourse markers of purpose. The most common way to talk about purpose is to use to. To is an informal way to introduce a clause of purpose. I'm watching this video to improve my English. To, a very common way to talk about purpose in informal spoken English. Let's have a look at some other ways we can do it. In order to and so as to serve the same function but more formal. Example, I'm watching this video in order to improve my English. Or I'm watching this video so as to improve my English. So three ways. I'm watching this video to improve my English. Informal. I'm watching this video in order to improve my English. More formal. And I'm watching this video so as to improve my English, probably the most formal. We can also use so that in the following way. Use so plus that plus the subject plus can, could, will or would plus the verb to express a purpose. This sounds very complicated, so let's have a look at the examples. They're moving back to Mexico so that they can be closer to their family. So the word that is optional. We can also say they're moving back to Mexico so they can be closer to their family. We can omit the that. Other examples, they moved back to Mexico so that they could be closer to their family. Or without the that, they moved back to Mexico so they could be closer to their family. The difference is that the first one is in the future, they're moving back with can so that they can, and this one is in the past. They moved back to Mexico so they could be close to their family. So in those two examples, the subject is the same in both clauses. They moved back to Mexico so they could be closer to their family. So in that type, the word that is optional. But if the subject is different in the two clauses, that then becomes obligatory. Examples. They are moving back to Mexico so that their daughter will be closer to her mother. In this example, the subject of the first clause is they, and the subject of the second clause is their daughter. So the word that is obligatory. We must use it. They moved back to Mexico so that their daughter would be closer to her mother. Another example, this time in the past, with the verb here in the past, moved, and here I'm using would. In the other example, it was are moving back, present continuous with a future meaning, plus will for the future here. Finally, purpose. We sometimes use the expression in case. This is used with a clause to show that we do something in order to be ready for a future situation or problems. Example, I'm going to buy an umbrella in case it rains. So let's finish the class by looking at the last group of linkers which show contrast. And the first one is but. But is the most common way of showing contrast and is normally used to link contrasting clauses. So that means two verbs in the same sentence. So for example, he likes to eat out, but it's very expensive. So but is joining the two clauses together and we have a comma before but. Another word that we can use is however, but however is normally used at the beginning of a sentence. So he likes to eat out, however, it's very expensive. He likes to eat out, full stop, however, comma, it's very expensive. We also have the word nevertheless, which is a more formal version of however. He likes to eat out. Nevertheless, it's very expensive. Again, the structure is the same. He likes to eat out, full stop. Nevertheless, comma, is very expensive. We also have the words although, even though, and though, which are really synonymous with however, but they cannot be used at the beginning of the second sentence and must come in between. So here are the examples. He likes to eat out, although it's very expensive. He likes to eat out, even though it's very expensive. And he likes to eat out, though it's very expensive. There's a small difference between these three words. Although is neutral, even though is more emphatic, and though is less formal. We can also put these at the beginning of the first sentence. So we could say the same thing by saying, although it's very expensive, he likes to eat out. Even though it's very expensive, he likes to eat out. And finally, though it's very expensive, he likes to eat out. I've added a note here because many students in the past have asked me, what does the word though mean? And in informal spoken English, many native speakers add though to the end of a sentence. So for example, you will hear very often native speakers say something like, he likes to eat out, it's expensive though. He likes to eat out, it's expensive though. Here though is working like an adverb. It's showing contrast. It's a very common way in spoken English of showing contrast, adding though to the end of a sentence. It's informal spoken English. So if you hear it, and also, you know, the pronunciation is though, though, though. Many people hear like dough, but it's not dough, it's actually though, though, though. So to finish the class, I also have despite and in spite of. These are used at the beginning of the first sentence and are either followed by a gerund or the fact that plus a clause. For example, despite being expensive, he likes to eat out. Or, in spite of being expensive, he likes to eat out. And if we want to use a clause, we need to say, despite the fact that it's expensive, he likes to eat out. In spite of the fact that it's expensive, he likes to eat out. Okay, very good. With that, I've finished this class 4 of my advanced level C1 English course. Hope to see you again soon with more videos in this series. And if you're a Spanish speaker, I'll be back with more videos in Spanish, teaching English in Spanish, that is. Goodbye.